Hey, Chris, how was your weekend?
Hey, my weekend was great. Went to an alpaca farm.
An alpaca farm. Interesting.
Yes, it's a place you can go to near here. You can pet the alpacas, the sheep, the donkeys. I had a fight with a pig. It was good.
Nice.
How about you?
Just worked around the house. Really didn't do too much. Cleaned up, just chilled. Went shopping. Just went out and about. Ate out a couple times. Had some nice tacos, and some other good food. But so so today, we definitely are going to start. By the way, if as you and I know, and we'll share this with everybody else, but we are going to go live every day at 11 a.m. It'll be a different show every day. We'll have guests on sometimes. We're going to try for Foodie Friday on Fridays with Adam. He's interested in it, and he'll either join us or he will record a pre-episode. So we'll see what he can come up with and see how that works out for him as well. So, but today I just wanted to, at the beginning, there's that little quote that from Gary Vaynerchuk that says, whether you're 9 or 90, stop trying to fix the things you're bad at and focus on the things you're good at. And to me, my coach asked me that last couple weeks ago, are you working on your strengths or are you working on your weaknesses? And I always work on my weakness or my strengths. Sorry. I kind of delegate my professional weaknesses as much as possible. As far as proofreading or anything goes, especially in videos or any posts, I will have somebody proofread it before I do it, just because I tend to go so fast that I miss things. And so that slow down is a little important for me, but I also think that I can just delegate it off to somebody. I know for you, we've had a long, 6 years, 7 years, we've worked together and you have had your ups and downs, but there have been times you've worked with both your strengths and your weaknesses. What do you work on mostly?
So time management is my biggest area of weakness, if you will. Always has been. So for me, it's being hyper vigilant, knowing what those things are. There's a difference between beating yourself up and being identified by your weakness, as opposed to knowing it's an area for growth. I know that I'm bad when it comes to managing my day. There's a saying we had in our office, either you run the day or the day runs you. Too many times the day ran me. It ran right over me. So because of that, knowing that, it's being mindful of it. And I think that's what the importance of strengths and weaknesses are. It's also important, we talk about in the interview process, that's one of the most cliched, but one of the most common questions. It can get you in some trouble if you don't know it. And John, what are your thoughts on, if someone says, wow, I really can't figure out what my strengths and weaknesses are, or they're very good at their weaknesses, but they have a hard time picking out their strengths. How would you suggest someone kind of comes to a good conclusion for that?
Well, I think you ask somebody, honestly. People tend to be honest. I mean, even if they're not, they tend to be forthright. They may not want to hurt your feelings, but if you ask them to be just honest and forthright with you and say, what do you think my strengths and my weaknesses are? And I think that honestly will help them. They'll tell you what they are, and you might not like what you hear, but that's the way we grow, right? If we know a strength, if we know a weakness, then we know that we can fix it. And the funny part about it is, and I'll use voicemail as an example, right? I think a lot of people's weakness is returning voicemails because they didn't know they had them from their phone, or that weakness of, and we've seen this a bunch of times, and it blows my mind that someone in business development can have this happen to them. But you call them to leave them a voicemail and their voicemail box is full. To me, that's a weakness because you're not detail oriented enough to find out if your box is full, right? And so how do you fix that? You're not going to delegate that out, but you can work on that. And it's just one of those things where that's a weakness. And somebody could say, hey, I tried to get a hold of you, but your voicemail was full. That's when you realize it. So you kind of have to look at things that people mention to you in order to get that right, and then work about how to fix it, right?
And I think it's also important, you want to take a good leader, a good manager, when they're doing a one-on-one with you, a review with you, are going to provide you with some valuable feedback on areas that you can grow. And it's important you don't take it personal, but in the same breath, use that information to grow. Either whether it be, again, to your point, attention to detail, whether it be follow-up, whether it be, when it comes, even the little things in our office place, if it's gossip, if you're the one at the water cooler, is that necessary for you? And then even on a personal standpoint, we talk about this from a business perspective, and I don't want to get all Tony Robbins and, new world kind of stuff on you, but it boils down to all of us have strengths and weaknesses in our personal lives too, and you can actually utilize what you're doing here professionally and tuning to your weaknesses and leading toward your strengths can help also when you step outside the office.
Yeah, and you mentioned it in interviews, and here's the interesting piece, right? They're going to come up in interviews. So when you take this back to what we do on a regular basis, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Are some of the largest questions that are asked, and they're some of the hardest questions to answer. And so because people don't realize what they truly, truly are. They might say, I'm a good leader. I'm good at time management. I'm attention to detail, right? But again, the interviewer calls back for a second interview and the voicemail's full. That attention to detail just didn't show up there, and it's going to show in that interview. So, I know somebody the other day who was getting asked that question. They weren't quite sure how to answer it. What are your 3 biggest weaknesses? And again, it was a tough question to ask. It's a tough nut to crack when you don't know what they are. And again, mine would probably be some attention to detail because I move a little too fast, right? And I move a little too quick, and I want to jump between things. And 2, again, that attention to detail, because as you know, a lot of times I might pass off some scheduling stuff to you because you do it a little bit better than I do. Now your time management might be off, but your attention to detail is a little bit better. So you work with a team that allows that to happen.
And I think to your point too, it also comes down to don't shoot yourself in the foot. This is why you may hear us repeatedly talk about things like, checking your resume, proofreading your resume, making sure there's no typo errors, grammatical errors. Remember, when you're looking to you may have the best background in the whole, you may be the best in your particular field, but first impressions go a long way. And people are going to draw a conclusion about what your strengths and weaknesses are even before you say them. So if you say to someone, if your resume has typo errors or has grammatical errors or formatting errors, they're already going to make an assumption that you're not strong attention to detail.
Right.
You're already determining your weaknesses for you. And if you don't specify what they are, people will make them up. And so you want to make sure that you're giving yourself every opportunity to succeed from the get-go.
Right. And again, if you do notice a weakness or a strength, I think you should try to better that. Play to your strengths, play off your weaknesses, but honestly, just figure what works best for you, because not everybody can do that. They might not focus on their strengths to build. And I think you should. Like when you take a Strength Finders test and it gives you your top, 34 strengths, you don't need to work on all 34, but you can work on the top 10 to get better at them, right? And then kind of see what you can do to delegate off the other side.
I think equally important, we talk about your weaknesses a lot, but your strengths are going to be someone else's weaknesses. So it's really important that you not only focus on what you need to improve upon, but don't be selfish. If you're strong at something, share why you're strong in that. Maybe what you're doing that make you strong in that area can help someone who may be weak in that area. You can mentor someone else, and at the same time, an area you're weak in, and a trusted friend or colleague is strong in, hit them up. Hey, how are you successful in this? And learn from them.
Right. Good one. Well, cool. Let's wrap this up, and we will talk tomorrow at 11.
Hey, see you guys at 11 o'clock tomorrow.